Most of you by now know that I work at VIP Mortgage. A lot of you may not know why or how I got there. For us as LOs, we have a lot of options, and for me, VIP Mortgage was the perfect fit and the best place, in my opinion, to work. So if you have any questions about VIP Mortgage as an LO, or if you are a consumer and you're looking for a mortgage, you can reach out to me on social media, or you can reach out to anybody else that you may know at VIP Mortgage. And our website is vipmtginc.com. What's up, man? How are you?
Ryan, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. It's Jeremy Brown with Remax Fine Properties.
I'm excited to be on the show.
Appreciate it. Got my sister over here helping with the production. So thanks, Trisha Madrid. And my nephew, Trey. I like to recognize him because he does all the post-production work. And thanks, VIP Mortgage, for having us here to do this in our building. Dude, so Jeremy him and I just had a long conversation before this started that kind of is going to take us into a different direction than we were originally going to go. So it's super cool. I mean, the original thought process was having you on here because when Trish and I were talking about relaunching this, it was really about cool people doing cool stuff. And it wasn't just about the mortgage business and real estate and everything. Obviously, you're in that business. But I think everybody that knows you do a lot of really cool things. Adventure is a big part of your life. Work-life balance is a big part of your life. You're definitely not like the stereotypical realtor. And so that was the thought process. And obviously I want to go there. But we got into a conversation about health and COVID. And I think it really ties into kind of how you live your life. But talk a little bit about how you grew up, because it kind of lends to, I'm just going to say this, he's never been to the doctor before. So, which led to a whole cool conversation. So why don't you just let us into like that life, your childhood and stuff, and kind of where you are, why you think the way you think.
So I was kind of telling you, I got lucky when I grew up. I born in 83. My mom, she's just an amazing woman, but she had she grew up kind of with a weak immune system, and she had my sister in the 70s, and then came along my brother, and she honestly has told me that if she stayed on that path, that she'd be dead, like on the normal Western medicine path of her normal doctors. They weren't helping her, and her immune system was very low, and she had a whole slew of health issues. So by the time I came around, her and my dad had made this decision to go the natural path direction, and they really 180'd their lives.
And where were you? What state was this in?
So
was this Michigan?
Yeah, let's set the stage. Northern Michigan, 5 hours north of Detroit, right up by Mackinac City, if anyone's heard of it. But we lived on an 80-acre farm. My dad was building our house. They bought this little like 300 square foot fallen down farmhouse on 80 acres, and that's where they were going to build their life, circa mid 70s. So it's pretty cool. We have some neat photos from there, but that was my whole early childhood. So I came along 83. She was already into natural healing and just kind of doing everything opposite of Western medicine. And so when I was young, from the time I was born on, I really had a jump, I feel, on a lot of other kids, because she was doing everything for me that was extremely healthy for my immune system and for me. So it's funny because you said I had never been to the doctor. So that story that I was telling you, I came down with an ear infection when I was 4 or 5 years old. And it was the only time my mom got so scared that I was going to lose the hearing in my one ear. And, we're out on a farm. There's no one around that you can call quickly or to help. No quick cares down the street.
Right.
And so she did take me to the doctor and gave me a medication. And fast forward, when I was 13 or 14 years old, my teeth came in when I started hitting puberty. My molars came in with no enamel on them. Mm-hmm. And the first thing
Your wisdom teeth?
I had never been to the dentist either. At
Okay.
14 years
Okay.
old, I had never gone to a
Okay.
dentist. All right.
Okay.
So they weren't my wisdom teeth. I actually don't have wisdom teeth.
Okay. No, again. Okay.
You'd never know.
Okay.
But no, they were just my molars. They came in with no nail. We go to the dentist, and the first thing the dentist asked my mom was, "Did you take a medication when you were young?" And she's like, "Yeah,
A specific antibiotic, right?
one. He's taken one in his entire life."
So he's only taken one ever.
And whatever you take for an ear infection, I guess it's a common thing with little kids, right?
Yeah.
And he said that's what made your teeth come in with no enamel on them. And my mom was so angry
Right.
because now she's shelling out $1,000 or whatever to get my back molars fixed. But yeah, that was the first time I had been to the dentist. I do go to the dentist occasionally now, just for personal hygiene,
Yeah.
mainly to keep my teeth white and looking
Yeah.
good. But yeah, when I get sick, I definitely don't run into the doctor. I've never gone as an adult, so when they
insane?
ask me for my family doctor, I don't ever answer that question. I just write
You're
down
like,
Sally
Mom,
Brown.
Mom. Mama.
Call mom. Yeah,
Dude, that's crazy. So, because we were talking about, all the things you do and like how, active you are.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you still get sick. You just treat yourself differently,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, it's like, he has like this routine that I'm talking to he as I'm talking to my sister, but Jeremy has this routine where his mom is like basically taught him like how to like take care of himself like anybody else. So he's like, if him and I get the same thing, or you and I get the same thing, I'm going to go this route to get better, and you're going to go this route.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you see you and your friends doing the same thing, but everybody gets healthy at the same time.
dude,
They might take a Z-Pack and you take
it's
probiotics. And
it is the craziest thing
Right.
because at 37 years old now, I'm realizing the value of what I was learning at 3 years old.
yeah.
It is. My friends will get sick and I'll get sick, and I get sick just like anyone else because I do things that crush my immune system, or you just catch something. It's inevitable. It's part of life.
Yeah.
But I do watch the process, and I start doing everything as clean as possible, and I might just not eat, pump vitamins, and just rest my immune system. And as your body builds itself and you pop out of that, it ends up taking the same amount of time, I swear.
Right.
You take a Z-Pack and you're down for a week and you're thinking that's kind of bringing you out of it, when your body ends up doing that after a week or week and a half anyway.
Right.
It strengthens itself. And I was telling you earlier, when you take a round of antibiotics, and this is kind of popular right now with this whole biohacking thing, like in the book Unstoppable, he talks about this for the whole entire book. If you take a round of antibiotics, 2 years, it kills your gut, your microbiome. It takes 2 years for that to bring itself back. So you're more susceptible to catching stuff again later.
Because your gut's like everything.
because-
But we're all you already knew this, but like we're all learning about like the gut basically controls everything. From your mental health to your your physical health.
And what I'm saying at 37, I'm realizing the importance or the value of what my mom gave me is now this is popular.
Right.
This wasn't popular through the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. People didn't care.
No.
Like Western medicine was it. But now even a lot of doctors, they're blending natural health with Western medicine. And all of a sudden, all this stuff's coming out as if it's new news. My mom was doing it in the 70s,
Yeah.
So I feel that, if you are raised that way, you literally have a jump ahead as a young adult.
Yeah.
You're not starting the race behind, you're starting the race ahead, and it's all just, it is health.
Well, we were talking, what brought this up is that we were talking about COVID and how I had it, and I had it pretty bad. My son had it pretty bad. And I said, my immune system's garbage. If someone's like walking by and they have a cold, I'm going to get it. Like, and I do, obviously don't do a lot to help with that. And my compliance with freaking just even a normal like prescription is terrible, but let alone my vitamins and supplements and stuff. And so he was just telling me about, I had my blood work done recently, and the vitamin D was real low. Right, but to me, I didn't even realize vitamin D was like a big deal.
Yeah,
right, and
huge.
I'm embarrassed to even say all this stuff, but I didn't realize how important it really is. Right, so anyways, where I'm going to Natural Grocer, what's it called?
Yeah,
what's it called?
Hit up Natural Grocers, Thunderbird and Scottsdale
I
Road.
don't even know. I've even never heard of this place, but he's like, you got to go there and get this.
Find the hippie looking lady in there, the hippiest looking lady you can find, and ask her about the vitamin section.
Yeah, I will. So part of that, like your upbringing and how you are, just following. And people, if you don't know him, you probably follow him on social media. And in this real estate world, I think most people know who you are. At least they may not know you personally, but they know who you are. So there is this whole like active lifestyle guy, right? I mean, you're hiking all the time. You're snowboarding. You're mountain biking. You're cycling. I mean, you're anywhere, somewhere, but here when you can.
That sounds awful.
It's true though, right? I mean,
hey, to all my clients,
it's not because you hate it here. What I'm saying is that you like to, you get out and he loves his job.
It is my soul food, man.
Yeah.
Other than going to church, but it is the balance of that. The health goes hand in hand with nature and that part of my my soul. So
after Michigan, how long was it before you came here?
All right, so I'll tell you the whole story. So I grew up in Michigan, born in '83 there. I stayed in northern Michigan till second grade, and then moved to southern Michigan for a short time, then went back to northern Michigan again.
Yeah.
So I've spent all of my life until 20 in northern Michigan, did a little stint in California for a year, and then moved out here when I was 20. And then actually got right into the real estate biz. Okay. So I got my license as soon as I moved here and took the crash course and went right into it. So I had a family member at the time that was doing land deals here locally. And the plan was that I was going to get into land. And
the commercial side, or I guess it doesn't matter, right? They sell to commercial and residential land guys.
Yeah,
right?
So land acquisitions, entitlement, reselling projects.
Big business here, bro.
Right,
Maybe
I know.
Should have done that.
The dumbest decision I made going residential. No, it was 2005, and dude, I started this business in 2005, coming from a town of 3,000 people in northern Michigan, and I'm going, there's people driving Lambos that are the same age as me, and I'm going, how's everyone making all this money? What are people doing? I knew nothing about this city business. I'm jumping in really green, and it was a challenging market. I remember writing 10 offers with my first client on condos down in Mesa,
And you're super young too. It's not easy
super young.
When you're real young.
And his parents were having to trust me.
Right.
And you're really green, and that is a big challenge when you're young and new in this industry. Some people pull it off well, but I look pretty young, man. I mean, I still look young.
Yeah.
And when I was 20, I looked real young. So, got through that, and then
what happened in 08?
Yeah. Well, actually, so that was the rest of the story. So that's why I didn't get into the land deal, is because that was a lingering crash going on here. And my sister got divorced from that husband, and then, we weren't doing land acquisitions anymore.
Okay,
and there was a whole slew of things that
took
my path in a different direction. But I'm glad that it did, actually, because I jumped right into residential instead. So I went to, I bounced around a little, but it was at a Coldwell Banker office back in 2005, and that's where I met the guy actually who owns the office that I work for now, and he became a mentor to me, immediately. And I didn't realize at the time that he was literally one of the biggest or the biggest in the valley, and he was absolutely crushing it in 05.
Right.
So
what's his name?
Del Rounds. Yeah, and most people in this industry know Del. He owns obviously Remax Fine Properties, but he's such a mentor to everybody. Like, he was doing this before it was cool. As far as coaching and mentoring. And actually back then, we were jumping on the Mike Ferry scripts right when I got into the biz, which, now it's a big thing. Everyone's paying Tom Ferry, but this was Mike Ferry old school.
Right.
And it was just door knocking, cold calls, the scripts. And I remember having this headset on, making phone calls, using those Mike Ferry scripts. And again, I had never done anything like this in my life. And it seems so awkward when you first start that stuff. It's so robotic.
Yeah.
And that was tough. But you know what? I literally listed a house in McCormick Ranch. I think like the second or third day I was making those calls.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, a $610,000 house in McCormick Ranch.
Yeah.
And I remember I get that we called this guy Elephant Man because every time we went to go see him, he avoided us. I never met the owner of this house ever. I held open houses. We had him sign stuff back then. There wasn't DocuSign.
Right.
And we would drop stuff off and he would put it back out under the doormat. I never met the guy. And we think I saw photos in the house when I was holding open, but I don't know. We laugh about it still today.
He was probably just didn't want human contact.
Yeah. But I got him on the phone, I remember, and he was just brutal, man, yelling at me, every objection he had. And I'm reading those Mike Ferry objection handlers.
I understand what you're saying.
I understand, but if you were to move, where would you move to?
Yeah.
And he's like, what'd you just say to me? It's like, what does that have to do with what I just said? Yeah, I just kept him going. And then I ran over to Dell's office, I remember. And I'm like, dude, I got like a fish on.
Right.
Can you help me close this? And I remember we called the guy back together on the phone and Dell helped me, obviously close that. But that was kind of my intro to real estate. But
yeah, you've been like incredibly loyal to that office.
I have been, yeah.
I know obviously the recruiting process is just like it is for the mortgage business, right? It's just like everybody's after everybody. But if you're doing business, you're gonna get calls every day, and you have friends that own places and stuff. And
I do, close friends, people that I love, man, and people that I'm probably even closer to now that own other companies. But I think that's just part of the biz, and everyone understands, and I know they don't need me because they're absolutely killing it.
Well,
so
exactly. So your approach to this business is much different now because obviously you're not you don't read scripts or pick up the phone. I mean, it's all referral based business at this point.
It is. I do pick up the phone once in a while, but not like I should. And I'll be totally honest. That's a challenge that all of us have. I mean, even 16 years in, that is, you almost have to be a certain type of person to do that day in and day out. And we have friends that are really good at it.
Oh, yeah.
But, they might be a little off.
It's not my deal either, dude. I hear you. I'm not good at it either. I don't like to do it. I don't want to do it. And if I have to do it, then I don't want to do this. Right. That's where it's been for me. But, it definitely shoots you forward faster. I mean, dude, we've been hanging out. Like, we've known each other for 7-8 years now. We really just started working together, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so true.
And I don't think
I
I
feel
ever
a little bad
asked
about
you.
it.
I don't think I ever asked her, it's like people, I mean, I've had that same thing said to me so many times. They're like, but they also say that's what they liked, right? Yeah. They're like, I liked that about you, but I'm like the worst person for somebody to mentor when it comes to that sort of aspect because they're like, dude, it's 3 years from now, I still don't have any business. But building relationships, I think is some people are just better at that than others, and I think that's where you kind of fall into play, and that's where I have as well.
Well, it's tough because, I mean, our group of friends, we know everyone in Scottsdale selling real estate. Yeah. I know every loan officer, most of them. I know all the title companies, or I have a friend at. And you do have to pick and choose, and
oh, for sure.
You feel like.
Totally. I mean, we had this conversation yesterday about even the title. It's like, it's trying to spread it around and because you have to appease so many different people. But at the end of the day, it's like, you can't. There's so many cool people in every aspect of the business that you kind of got to roll. And once things work the way it's supposed to work, you go, okay, this is a little bit different. And obviously we've been able to help you out in some good situations that have worked in that aspect for us. But
I think that's really what it ends up being. It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You try different people out, and I think your personalities just jive. I mean, the expectation from anyone that I give business to is always the same, and the people that pull through and just make it super easy and are a little OCD like me and treat the client that way, then I end up just using them. Like, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah,
so
exactly. So do you think that okay, let me just back up. So when you got here, you're 20, were you out doing the same sort of stuff you're doing now?
No, very different because I had no sphere of influence built.
No, I mean from the adventure side.
Oh, from the adventure side. What's really weird? So there was a point in my life from about 20 to 25 where I actually, I got out of that. I was pretty crazy earlier than 20, like insane with extreme sports stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I came out here, I got into real estate and started doing kind of the city thing because I had never done that. Being from a really small town, I had never experienced a lot of this stuff. So you get caught up in, the partying here and Old Town Scottsdale. And,
right.
And then I kind of woke up about 25 and wasn't doing stuff that I didn't realize was such a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And actually someone who I'm really close with now, he's in his mid 50s, but I'd call him, one of my best friends. He got me back into cycling. So I used to be a mountain biker in Michigan, and I was really good. I was on this little like junior Olympic team and stuff, but I totally put it. I don't think I brought a mountain bike out here with me when I moved here. Anyway, he got me back into cycling mid 20s, and he was so funny because he used to leave me these voicemails at like 4:30 in the morning about getting your mind right. And, do you want to fly with the eagles, or do you want to soar with the owls of the night or whatever? Do you want to hang with the owls of the night or soar with the eagles of the day? And, just funny stuff. And it did, man. It made me get out and do that with him. And I didn't realize what I was kind of pushing out of my life.
Right.
And that brought a lot of stuff back for me. So about mid 20s, I started getting into the cycling, the running again, adventuring more. And it's a feeling that I think we talked a little bit about this before, but those highs mimic any partying high or anything else. So
it's a healthier high.
Yeah, I started going off in that direction. So I don't know, then you just kind of become rounded. You do a little of everything and you balance all that, and you can't have the adventures if you're not making money. So you got to work hard too.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because I remember when we first went snowboarding, you had made a comment like, we have a group of guys that are all good, and you're like, I'm from Michigan, and he said something like, you were like kind of going pro or same sort of thing with this mountain bike thing, and then we're like, dude, like, I ride with people that are good all the time, but you were like definitely like a next level of like cool, like doing the same stuff that maybe we were doing when we were in our 20s, but now you're 35 and you're hitting like like these side hips like 20 feet in the air and stuff. Like, we're like, dude, this guy's either crazy or he's that controlled still. Like, for somebody who doesn't, you were writing as if you rode all the time, and we lived in Colorado, but we live in Arizona and we can go to Flagstaff, and you're not making a ton of trips. So obviously, in the mountain biking and all that stuff, you obviously were good at that stuff, and that was like your passion at one point where you were doing it a lot because Michigan's not like a hotbed for, at least I don't think so, for like snowboarders, but maybe it is.
It's the weirdest thing. I laugh about this. So my home hill has 550 feet of vert, and in southern Michigan, they're skiing and snowboarding on garbage dumps. Like Mount Brighton is literally an old garbage dump that's now made into a ski resort.
Okay.
But it's funny because, like Danny Davis came out of southern Michigan. He's one of the best snowboarders in the world, and the Midwest like produces some really good snow riders, but they're just small little hills, and that's why they get really good at park stuff and other things, because we don't have the big mountain backcountry. We have the snow accumulation, so we get powder days and everything, but it's different. Yeah. And different. It was my life, man. I was out there nonstop. It's the only thing you can do in the winter. If you're not snowmobiling, you're snowboarding.
Right.
And I just, I squeaked that into my life. So
when having conversations with my real estate partners, one of the things I always ask them is, how organized are you? Do you have a CRM system? Or do you have a drip campaign? Are you staying in contact with your referral partners, your clients, etc.? And a lot of agents do not, or they've gone through multiple CRM systems. I found a really good CRM system that I recommend. It's called Escrow, the letter S, grow. And immediately you're going to see an impact in your business just because of the automatic campaigns that are already pre-written for you. It's a great system, great system, easy to use, because I think that's one of the problems that people have. Things are already set up, templates are already created. All you have to do is put your contacts in and let it ride. So if you don't have a system, you're looking for a system, visit esgrowcrm.com for more information. So just getting back to the mountain biking and the snowboarding, but the running thing too, right? So I have a funny story that we talked about that our friend, I'm not going to say his name. He's like, man, I was, and he's in shape too. And he's just like, I was training so hard for this race. And it was like in the mountains, right? Where was it at?
This one, if I know,
it was
the
a
story
trail,
you're about
right?
to tell,
Trail race.
It was a trail race down in Tempe.
Okay. And, and he was training for it. And I don't know if like you guys decided to do it together or like, it was like kind of like towards this, getting closer to it. He's like, hey, do you want to do it? You're like, sure, I'll go do it. And he's like, this dude just shows up and just like takes off and just like beats everybody. And he's like, I've been training for months for this thing. And it was like nothing. And he came out of nowhere because you just, it's like the staying in shape, but it's the health, but you're doing all this stuff. It's like every single weekend you're like either on your bike or on your mountain bike, but you don't just do like the average, hey, let's go out and just go hike today, hike Camelback. You're like, I'm going to go run a marathon and do, ultra racing and all that stuff. So talk about like that, because you did like an extreme ultra race of some sort, right?
I did. So last year I actually ran my first ultra, but what I'll say,
ultra is what?
Anything over marathon length. So
Okay.
this one was a 32 miler, but the reason it was that short is because it's 7,000 feet of vert and it's straight up. So you run 32 miles straight up, like from the beginning of the race to the end. It's
There's
up.
no way that was easy.
And no,
Even for
so
you.
it would be the same as like a flat 50 or
Okay.
60 miler
Yeah.
probably. But I guess what I'll say is, I don't always run, like stay on the running.
Yeah.
But when you're always doing the things that I do, you have a pretty good base of everything. So people always wonder, well, how do you go do that and just like go throw down?
Yeah.
And it's a couple of things. I mean, it's mental, but I keep that base up. So between everything that I do, typically I know that my body will have 30 or so miles in it, and I can push through that. That ultra was a whole different deal. That was mental. The elevation on that, it crushes you. So there were some pretty low points of that. I remember at mile 16, I started getting cramps in my shins below my knees that I had never felt before. And it was from when you're running uphill, you pull your toes up probably more on each step.
Yeah.
And just from pulling the front of my foot up, I was getting these funny cramps. And I remember, I think I took a caffeine pill maybe. No, I had that like natural energy goos with caffeine in them. I think I took 2 of those and like a couple salt tabs, and it ended up going away probably 5 or 6 miles later. So you have to really,
That's a long time.
you got to run. Yeah. And you're running uphill. So the mental game was hardcore. And actually there's, when you join that ultra community, I mean, that is a whole nother level.
Right.
So there were a handful of people there that were like well known in the ultra world, and I don't know if you saw during that when I filmed a little bit of it, but that the lady had run over 100 milers. She was 65 years old or something.
Right.
She was going to run a 200 miler in Europe. I mean, that's next level. Her dedication to that and time, I can only imagine. But
can you do anything else? You like literally that's like
and
your
that's
life.
and that's actually, I think, part of the reason why I end up doing a lot of different things is because I like a lot of different things. I can't stay that dedicated, to putting that many hours just into running.
I remember, and I'm thinking it was this race that you did film. Now that you said that, and there was like you got like emotional at some point in that. Did you not?
So that's the high I'm talking about. You I cried at the end. I was crying, I think, on the video because I took a little video right at the end because I wanted to see just what I looked like personally too.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling, and I've had it before a number of times, but it's something that you can't explain or tell people until you get to that place in your body and in your mind. I mean, I didn't train for that either. And so a friend of mine is an ultra runner, and he's been bugging me to do that Crown King Ultra, and I knew it was really hard, and you got to go deep on it. And the week before I told him, I'm like, fine. I signed up and I went and did it. And I remember at the end of there's a really there's a 9-mile long climb at the end of it before you go down into town just a little. And that climb seemed never ending. And I was at a really I was digging deep, man. I was digging deep. And when I crested the top and I knew I had a downhill shot to the finish line, it wasn't that far, and I knew I was going to make it. You're just overwhelmed with everything that you've been holding back. And, your brain and body's producing all these hormones and chemicals. I think that's what does it. Your serotonin like goes through the roof.
Going through all this, your adventures and I like to call them adventures, but you're just staying extremely active. And, you may be doing these at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Monday or whatever. It's not like you're out there on the weekend doing all this stuff. But how it equates to your success, talk a little bit about that, because I know it does.
So the health aspect and being out adventuring, it all goes hand in hand, because when you're a healthy individual, your energy and your mood levels are more balanced. And in this real estate game, we work a lot. So we are working nights, we're working weekends, and the expectation's really, really high. So in order to balance all that, you can't have low lows. And, when those years I said I was partying more and things like that, you don't realize how much that's affecting the business aspect, because you're not keeping your mind right. And I think that's where, when I was telling that story about my friend that got me into cycling, I never even knew what it was when he was saying, you got to get your mind right, because he had been to some really low places in life. So the health definitely comes into the equation. I mean, huge for that, but also relatability. I mean, the adventuring and the things that I do make you a more well-rounded person. And when I'm in conversations with clients and with people, they're all people that do the same thing. Like, most people have run races. Most people have had a similar feeling. And it just makes you real. And the thing with this is a person-to-person business. And it's relatability almost more than anything else. Like, we could talk marketing all day long and the superstars of marketing, but if you want to build a business and you're a really relatable person, you can go sit at a restaurant and spark up a conversation with someone, and you might be showing them houses the next day. Now, that's not how I just build my business, but it does help.
Yeah, and you've got a vast, a variety of types of people you roll with too, and age ranges and everything that are all clients of yours or past clients of yours that you become really close friends with. And I have a coach that he always would preach to me, you got to go do stuff. Because people are attracted to people that are happy, and people are doing positive things in their lives, and they see that, and they want to be a part of that. And so, I mean, I think that's pretty much it's a big aspect of your business, obviously. But have you had like people just like randomly reach out to you because something they've seen online or seen on your social media or something, and be like, hey, I saw that you did this, and I'm looking to sell my house. I mean, has that ever happened?
It has. I'm trying to think of the last client that's happened with, but it absolutely has. People have reached out to me because I'm in that community. Being someone who's involved in a lot of different things or groups or just getting yourself out there will build a business in itself, and you won't even know. It's totally organic.
Yeah, your networking groups are the cycling groups and the snowboarding and the trail running and all that stuff.
And also, even the people like yourself that I use, a lot of those people are also healthy individuals or on the same page with certain things. I think what's the saying? You're the sum of your 5 closest friends. So who you can surround yourself with, both in business and in personal life, you end up being a lot like. Learning things from.
I remember I saw you at the Open. I think it was your last year, maybe even the year before that, and you were with one of your clients, and they had brought you there, and then you were on a snowboarding trip to Aspen with another one of your clients that had flown you there. It's like. I think it's an appealing way of going about your business, because you do a lot of business. But there's also the struggles of that business is rough, just like our business is rough, right? So it's not like Jeremy. Jeremy's like, he runs and he cycles and everything's happy.
No,
I mean, because I know the because he's also a general contractor. He's got his hands in a lot of different things, and the stress level can be max. So he's not as perfect as we're making him sound like.
No, it all
this year's been kind of rough.
So talking about it, it all sounds great and like I'm out adventuring all the time. But the bottom line is, in this business, I think one of our close friends, maybe you had him on this, you did have him on this, but Brian Norris said it a couple of years ago, I remember, and it really set in. It's an easy entry business. Everybody's in it.
Yeah.
But to succeed, it's a whole different thing. I mean, 2% of us do all the business.
Yeah.
But
and to stay consistent is tough.
And staying consistent is really, really tough. So no, I'm not always out adventuring. There's so many hours that go into this and so much knowledge. What sets you apart is knowing those numbers and knowing your, what am I trying to say? Just knowing the housing market itself, knowing your inventory.
Yeah.
And
because there's not a lot right now, right? So you've got to be quick and efficient and know what the hell you're doing.
Dude, right now is awful.
I saw you when I stopped by your open house, or not even, did you have, I think you were having an open house in that townhouse that you were redoing, that you spent like the summer working as, in the sun doing all the work. I could just tell like the mood level, like you were not taking your vitamin D. Like, I was like, dude, I don't know if I've ever seen you like this. Like, you were just like, oh, God. You're like, doesn't look great. And I'm like, dude, I was like, it looks awesome. But you're like, I got to get this thing sold because.
Let's go there. No, so talking about glamorous or non-glamorous, this year was rough, man, rough. So you have the personal challenges and you learn those lessons along the way. But this year, man, for me was a big lesson learner. I started the year out thinking like this year's in the bag. I had some really good big stuff starting at the beginning of this year, and right when COVID set in, I had 4 deals fall out that were substantial deals, and it was due to COVID and people's lives changing. I mean, I had one. I mean,
dude, we're talking like $5 million.
Dude,
like
$5 million in deals.
That's a lot of money.
So I had one 900. I remember the one. I had just lost 2 others, and I had a $900,000 house with Toll Brothers, literally under contract, new build. And she called me and she's like, Jeremy, horrible news, but my husband just lost his job. They were coming from Washington, and boom, 3rd one out, and I'm going.
And these were mainly all COVID related, right?
It was COVID related. So my year, I mean, I thought the year was going to just explode, and it didn't. But then I got involved in another project, and I remember it was such a good thing. I mean, everything about it was good, but it tied me up all summer long. And I was the GC on that, and I'm just working nonstop, and it was hot, and I had already lost those other deals.
Yeah.
And then I was focusing time on that build and not doing as much on the sales end that I should have been doing.
Right.
And you're thinking, I'll make money on this, but this is a long, hot summer, and now it's taken time away from other things that I could be doing to make more money. And I got really grumpy, man, mid-August. Like I was
doing anything. You weren't traveling because
no.
And
so
it's like
typically,
your drug, right?
typically we make our money January to June here.
Yeah.
And once it starts lingering August, September, you want to just get out. I mean, that's our winter here.
Yeah. Totally.
So
rough start.
I was not. There were some low points of the year, and I had some people around me, luckily, that snapped me out of that, and then the year is finishing off really good. And when you're in it, you don't see it.
Yeah.
And I still had all this positive stuff that I could have been focusing on, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that just takes you to a lower point. So
what did they, for like, give us an example of like what somebody did for you? Was it just like a slap you across the face, like wake up?
Kind of, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and it was focus on everything that you have going for you. It was literally a sit down talk. You have all this stuff going for you. I was only focusing on the glass half empty and not half full.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty simple talk, but it set in.
It changed. Everything changed. And that townhouse that we're talking about, it's a townhouse, right? Not a condo?
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
That's closing any day now.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
It closed
so
yesterday.
That's what I
there
mean.
Like, it's like, okay.
You have all these stresses and worries, and now it closed yesterday. All that's behind me. Now I have, no stress.
Yeah.
The rest of the year. And that wasn't even stress. Like right now, I mean, it's hard to not hit a home run on pretty much anything that you own or you're selling or redoing.
Yeah.
I mean, the market's
It's insane, right?
crazy.
Yeah.
These numbers I'm seeing is
So speaking of these numbers, are you going to do another project like that then? You are. So you got some other.
So you typically I'm involved in a few different things, but that one I took on, that was all me. Where a lot of the others, it's with clients.
Yeah.
So we're finding and then reselling deals. So I'm constantly in that. It just depends on whether I'm running it or not.
Yeah.
And it's actually good that I did that. And I've done a few, but that one, there's more learning lessons. Every one you go, shit, I kind of knew that before, but now I really know, like, and then you can represent people in a way better way, because if they're getting involved in that or they're doing it, you have advice for them. You got to live and learn.
So I actually didn't know you were doing a lot of that stuff until that project, to be honest with you. So as how much of your business is, do you have like 2 or 3 flips every year, or are you trying to buy and hold, or like what's your game?
Last year we probably did 6 with another investor that does a handful, but they're all luxury.
Okay.
Buying 5s to 8s and selling around $1 million or more.
Yeah.
So
you guys get into like buying like the $1.5 million and trying to flip them for like 3?
It's gonna get there. Well, here's the thing, man. Those numbers, even 6 months prior, these neighborhoods that I was seeing at $300 a foot are now $400 a foot.
Yeah.
So what you're buying in at and what you're selling at, it's changing so fast right now. And that's another reason why I said, just knowing your numbers, I wasn't just throwing that out there. It's like on a weekly basis right now, watching those Cromford report market, that you guys put out.
Yeah.
It's so important for agents because things are changing insanely fast.
Yeah.
Even if you're going on a listing appointment and you thought you knew that neighborhood a month prior, you don't know that neighborhood.
Yeah. No, we had a deal that I was getting involved in, and there was 2 houses next to each other in just south of Indian School, like 62nd.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 houses, scrape them both, build on them.
Mm-hmm.
And before this, the other house is even scraped, it's $200,000 more than it was going to be, right?
Yep.
So that puts so many people out of the market, they can't even get involved in it. There's another house that last year was worth $700,000 on Chaparral and like 68th Street up in that area, and right behind our old office. Dude, $1 million, 1,575 square feet, 1,800 livable. It's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna. Rates are low right now, but finding those opportunities is tough. It's tough to find a really good wholesale deal right now that you're gonna make a ton of money on. But who knows? It's just like if it continues to appreciate like it is, then everything's a good deal. But someone to look for their primary residence right now to go into
it's tough. You got ranch. You have to literally be able to explain to them why the market's gone up 20% in the last year in most of these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Most people say, oh, well, that's a bubble. I'll just wait it out.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of indicators here that it's just not going to happen. And even if we take an adjustment in the next year, which we probably will, is that 5% adjustment considered a crash? No way. You just gained 40 in the last 3 years here.
Oh, yeah.
So things have to adjust, and they're going to. Let's all hope, because this sucks right now.
Right.
Trying to find deals.
Even if you have a house that you say you've made $300,000 in the last year, you sell it. What are you going to do?
So you have, man, this again, part of why I was in a tough place earlier this year is there's a lot of people around us right now that are setting records.
Yeah.
Especially in the luxury market.
Right.
Dude, what did we sell? 101 homes over $2 million last month, and the next highest month was like 31 or something ever.
Yeah. People are getting rich.
Make hay while the sun's shining, right. But it's just really difficult because of all those other things. It's hard to find buyers a place that they think is affordable. It's hard to convince a seller to sell because where are they going to go?
Yep.
It's hard to find investments for your investors because what's a good deal at this point? You got to really know and know like what that future outlook is 30 days down, 30, 60, 90 days down the road.
We didn't even talk about
there's challenges, man, big time right now.
There's huge challenges
in a market like this. When it's just a normal market, you can put the normal things to work and get huge returns from them. Right now, you got to know how to navigate it. And if you don't, you get eaten up. New agents, man, I feel for them right now.
Well, dude, some new agents are making the most money they'll probably ever make too.
Yeah, that is true.
So
that
it's
is true.
also crazy too, right? And then they're going to see something happen. But you were talking about how some people we know they're killing it right now. I know that in a nice way kills you too a little bit because from the competitive aspect, like you had a rough beginning and a lot of people are having record-setting years, and not that you're having a bad year because you're not, but you did have a tough first 6 months, so to speak. So you're ending well, but
when you lose deals and you see when you're engulfed in this industry and you know what everybody's doing and you see what listings they're bringing on and selling, it's really hard to not compare, and comparing is your worst enemy, man. It's one of my biggest challenges in anything I do is comparing, and I tell myself not to do it, but it kills me. And so from the real estate end, being competitive, I was watching people doing some deals and I didn't feel like I was getting them.
Right.
And
you did a little woe is me sort of thing.
Yeah, and it takes you to a worse place. Then instead of doing what you should be doing, you start getting down.
Yeah.
And then that depression, like I said, goes back to take your vitamin D, man.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah. No, it's crazy. So give us an example. Like the last deal, say the last listing that you got, where did it come from?
Sphere of influence. Yeah. So most of my stuff is referral and sphere of influence at this point. I've been working more on the buy side, to tell you the truth, last 2 years than the listing side. And here's the reason. I keep myself small enough to have time for the other things. That's an argument that you can argue many different ways, I get, but I really like my business. And when you're on the listing side, you really have to get that team rolling because there's a lot more involved.
Yeah.
So I've stayed kind of in finding off market deals, doing a lot of stuff on the buy side, selling our own flips. That's where my business has kind of been the last couple of years, and it's been doing really well for me.
Yeah.
And I constantly have people coming in from the Midwest or other areas that are referral. Most of my deals are referral at this point.
Yeah. Are your parents still in Michigan?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. Same place. Yeah. What about your brother and sister?
So brother and sister are both out here.
Okay.
My brother's an engineer here in town for a big company. Sister's here.
Okay.
And parents, they want to be here. We'll see. They're trying to.
Are they still on the farm, or or is it not even a farm anymore now? It's like a suburb.
It's funny. It's actually, it's 10 miles from the original farm.
Okay.
But now they live on a couple acres.
Gotcha.
Acre and a half or something. In a little village. It's not even a town. It's a village. I think it has 90 residents, but it's right on Lake Michigan. Beautiful place. It's a little famous spot along what they call the Tunnel of Trees in the fall. So right around October, you get the peak color tour, and everyone does the color tour up there. It's a really pretty place.
This guy's all about outdoors.
Yes.
Nice stuff.
I mean, growing up there, it just set it in. I mean, when I was, I had my first motorcycle when I was 4 years old. I had a rifle and a dirt bike at 4. My only friend lived a mile away, and we were just. My mom was like, "Hey, come back around dark."
Do you think
it's so different?
Do you think there's a misconception about you? Because I don't feel like people would think that. Have you? Of course.
I've heard that before.
Because it's like you're kind of like the blue collar farm boy that projects as like the pretty boy kind of.
I'll blame that on my sister.
Because even like when I saw like your whole like shaved head working on motorcycle guy too, right? You're also a grease monkey.
I went through that phase for a while. Yeah. That's my dad.
He's got a truck outside. It's a Dodge diesel that's got a gas tank in the bed. A real gas
tank.
Literally pumps gas for other people if he needs to, but so he can do it for himself. I mean, this is not the guy that that's doing modeling shoots and stuff. And he's the rims on it look like he could go into Baghdad with. And he's like, no, I can travel all across the country in this thing, and I don't have to stop anywhere because I fill my own tank of gas. And I was like, well, there's gas stations though, bro. So you don't have to do that. But this is what he wants to do, I guess. But so the conception of you, I'm sure you get this. That you're not just the Scottsdale guy that's just a
sneak attack.
It's a sneak attack.
Sneak attack,
it's
bro.
a total. You're a liar. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, that's funny. So cool, man. I think that from the perception of what I've known of you, that was when we first talked about it. Like I said at the beginning, you were the first. Well, two people. You and North were the first two people I thought of because I know Brian's got where he's going and what he wants to do, but he does a lot of cool stuff too. But you were literally the first person that I thought of, just because you just do everything just differently than everybody in this business. And
I just made my year, bro. Seriously.
Let's cut this part out, please.
That right there just pulled me out of everything. Everything negative that happened this year.
Vitamin D.
Yeah, you are.
No, but it's true because that was just the angle we wanted to roll. So we really, dude, I totally appreciate you coming on here. We do these like rapid fire questions that Trisha and I can kind of throw out together at you, but they're simple. So for rapid fire questions, and when I mean rapid fire, answer them quickly.
Hold on.
And they're not long answers. They're pretty quick answers. All right. So what's your favorite book?
So it's got to be one that's fresh. I just read Unstoppable, and that's pretty awesome.
Okay.
It's relatable to some of the stuff I just told you.
Who wrote that book?
It's Ben Angel.
Okay.
Yeah. Read it, dude. Just on some of this health stuff that we just said and biohacking.
Yeah.
Read it. It's awesome.
It's all in your gut. So if you could teach a certain grade or a certain subject in school, what would it be?
Science for sure.
Science?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, wait. Hold on.
I mean,
Are we
kind of science? I can see where that's going, but Eastern science?
Maybe home economics. I like to cook a lot too. Home ec would be fun, actually. Plus, well, actually, never mind. I'm not going to go there. Never mind. Home ec or science?
Yeah, I was just saying
because science actually goes into home ec. So
Okay, there you go. There you go. Oh yeah, horticulture.
Yeah, exactly.
Agriculture.
Horticulture.
If you were a superhero, what powers would you have?
I mean, any superhero that can fly. It's just that would be the most fun.
I agree.
Here to there in no time. Float around. Take your girlfriend on dates up in the clouds.
Dude, see, he's a romantic too. Everybody. All right, last question. What is something that you wish you were good at?
Guitar.
Yeah. Same.
Dude, it'll change your life.
Oh,
in so many ways. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm a well-rounded person, but if I could jam on the guitar. Yeah, I own one right now. I started taking lessons last year.
It's harder than it should be.
So I thought my hands were pretty rough from working and everything else. Dude, you got to get little leather ends before you can even play.
Yeah.
I felt like a baby.
It's
like after a couple hour lessons, man, my fingers were killing me.
Yeah. Oh, me too. It's one of those things where I think we're both pretty much good at most of the things we try. The guitar's the thing that is just not working for me, man. It's like I can't do it. I've tried.
It's hard, man.
I need to try harder, I guess. But man, that's a difficult.
Well,
one.
and here I played instruments when I was young, but guitar and piano, like how I read music and how you read music for guitar and piano are different.
Yeah.
And if I would have had that at like 5, 6 to 10 years old, it would be second nature.
Oh, for sure.
Which sucks because it's hard now because you're reading chords, not just notes.
Yeah. Remember that if you ever have kids, because I tried and my kids, I let them get out of it too early. And I told my son, dude, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You get to college, sit around a campfire.
Oh, dude, the one guy that can play the guitar and sing. I don't care what talents you have. Here's the thing. Most people in your life, you're going to be hanging out, sitting around somewhere. And the guy who can play the guitar and sing is going to.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that is that's wrapping it up. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, Trisha.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trey. Thank you to VIP Mortgage for having us here. And thank you to Tsunami and Escrow, our sponsors. And that wraps it up. Thanks again.
So if anyone needs any insight on any of that stuff, make sure they reach out to me because I can help with some of that health stuff and everything.
Okay.
In this business, if you're going through health issues or you're feeling depressed and things like that, that's a big part of us. So
yeah,
reach out to me.
And check out the book Unstoppable.
Yes, sir.
There you go. All right, thanks. Real Talk is brought to you by Tsunami. We all know that we should be doing more videos than we are doing. And one of the hesitations for myself is that I don't feel like I do a very good job filming them. I get nervous about the way they're going to look. And I'm pretty sure that most people feel the same way as I do. So Tsunami is a product that will allow you to film your own videos, and you can send those videos via the app that you can download on the App Store, and they will make the video look professional because it is done by a professional editing team. So you want a header, you want a footer, you want to just look better in general, and for the cost, it's unbelievably inexpensive. So if you're looking for video help, this is the best way to go about doing it, especially if you want to film videos on your phone like we all should. So it's Tsunami with an X, and that's it.